My wife, Alicia, and I are married for 2 years when we decide it's time to make a baby. Actually, my wife, Alicia, decides it's time to make a baby, and I decide I want to stay married to my wife. It's not that I don't want to have children. I want to have them eventually. I just didn't realize eventually was going to sneak up on me like this. And so we go to the doctor for genetic testing. Alicia's getting tested for Tay-Sachs because she's Jewish, and I'm getting tested for ocular pharyngeal muscular dystrophy. It's a form of muscular dystrophy that's very rare. It's not the kind that kids get. It attacks adults later on in life, but it's terrible enough that it's killed my aunt and my grandfather and my mother. And so it makes sense to get tested, and I agree, but I know I don't have the disease. I'm 38 at the time. I show no signs. More importantly, it's a disease on my mother's side of the family, the Mandevilles. And I am nothing like my mother. I am my father through and through. I am a Dix in every way, which is usually not a nice thing to say about a person, but in this case, it's working out well for me. I assume it's a blood test, but the doctor says, no, I need a semen sample. So I figure we're going to go home with a cup and have an awkward night in the bedroom. But the doctor says, no, I need you to go to a collection facility, which are 2 words that strike fear in my heart. Someone with performance anxiety, even when it's solo. And so I show up at the collection facility a couple days later. I know I'm in trouble right away. It's a medical building, but it used to be an elementary school. It looks like an elementary school. It still has a playscape on the end of it. No one should go into an elementary school to masturbate, particularly if you're an elementary school teacher, which I am. And so I go into the building and I sit in this room with 12 other guys. They're all presumably here for the same reason I am. I know they're all better at it than I am. I just know it in my heart. When the nurse finally calls me, she brings me down a corridor. It's 12 feet long till we get to a door. It's 12 feet. I am going to be masturbating 12 feet from a receptionist and 2 nurses and 3 doctors and 12 guys. This is not right. I want the corridor to be 112 feet long. I want it to end with an elevator that brings me 7 stories down to some room that only I know exists. But I'm here, 12 feet. She opens the door and I peek inside. It's a tiny room. It's got pink carpeting, pink walls, and a pink sofa in the middle that's covered by the plastic that your grandparents put on their furniture, which I find both relieving and disconcerting at the same time. She asks me if I have any questions, and I have one. The question I want to ask is, how long will I be in this room before it becomes really awkward for both you and me? Because I'm afraid that the time pressure is going to be too much for me. But I can't ask that question. So I say I'm fine. She hands me a cup, and she says, no matter what you do not let your penis touch this cup. As if the stakes weren't high enough already. And so I enter this vagina-colored room, and I get to work. Needless to say, it eventually happens after a long time. I will tell you that the couch, the plastic, is both uncomfortable and loud. It does not help in any way. But I submit my deposit and I head home. 2 days later, the doctor calls me and she tells me that the results are positive. And at first, I assume positive means a good outcome. And she says, no, it's not a good outcome. And then I assume that I have misunderstood this disease, that it's a recessive gene that skips over me but endangers my children. And she says, no. She says, you have that gene, and someday in the future, it's going to go off, and you're going to get that disease. I know it's the same disease that killed my aunt and my grandfather and my mother. And all the strength falls out of me. And all of the plans that we have suddenly have a shadow cast over them. I've had this bomb in my body all my life that I didn't know about, and now I'm just waiting for it to go off. And I'm so afraid. And I'm like that for a long time. And then one day, a miracle happens. Clara is born. My wife and I make our baby. And when I look into my daughter's eyes for the first time, we have a moment that I will never forget. And it's a moment I never want to end. But thankfully, it's followed by another moment and another one. And 3 years later, Charlie is born, and now there's a multitude of moments in my life. I'm not fooling myself. I know that there's a bomb inside of me and someday it's going to go off and I'm going to get that disease. But I'm okay with it now because I know that it will eventually come. But before that, I have a million moments before that eventually arrives. Thank you.